So this morning, we're going to be going through an overview of the Infor Service Management module that is integrated with the Cloud Suite distribution application. And so we'll start with a big picture overview, and we'll take the half hour that we have to cover as much as we have. But this will be a big picture overview of the application. It is a robust service application designed to streamline your service operations and equipment service workflows. And as you can see, there are many features that we won't have enough time to cover in the half hour that we have. But let me just give you the highlights of the features available. The application includes work order management features that allow you to log and create work orders when your customers ask for equipment service. It can start with a request for a quote, similar to what we were looking at, a project. You'll be able to, system will, if you need equipment service as part of that, and you need to assign technicians to manage, for example, a sale of equipment or a project, and you need work orders to set that up. The system will do that for you. You can, of course, assign the parts, the material, the expected labor that will be used to install and assemble the new equipment that you're setting up. Or it could be similar to the services you have offered in your website. You can do your maintenance and HVAC repair. It could be a preventive maintenance process where you have a checklist of things that your technicians will do every 90 days, every 6 months, just to make sure that the HVAC systems in the building is in good working condition. The system will allow you to manage the work orders, and we have what we call configurable service templates. This will enable you to preset patterns of service. I saw on your website where you published services for the HVAC maintenance, HVAC repair, and you had the list of steps that would be performed for those services. And those could be the templates that could be part of the checklist that technicians will need to perform. And that'll be part of the work order that the technicians would be able to see, and they can check off each item on that list as they perform each type of service. These are often repeatable services that you do. So the templates will help you preset these services so that when you create a work order, you call up the template and it'll automatically populate the work order, including the expected parts that you normally use in that service and the expected time that the technicians will need to finish the work. So again, the templates are appropriate for any type of equipment service that you have. That could be selling and assembling of new equipment, installation at the customer side. It could be preventive maintenance. It could be fix and repair. Billing could be fixed. It could be tied to a contract. So if you're doing a maintenance project, that could be a fixed amount every 60 days, every 90 days, every 6 months. And then, of course, that includes parts and labor depending on the contract that you set with your customers. It could be time and material. So based on the parts that would be replaced and the time that the technician spent on the job, then the invoice will reflect the expenses for that. We also have milestone billing. So for the larger projects that take longer for you to complete, it could be months, it could be years. You could also do the milestone billing and do percentage invoicing tied to the project. So perhaps 30% upfront, another 30% midway through the project, and the last 40% at the end of the project. The service application also includes scheduling and dispatching features. There's an online calendar-based scheduling tool. Now, this would be the tool that Pam or your service coordinators can use to assign work orders to technicians, schedule and dispatch technicians to customer sites where appropriate. Anyone with security access can see a daily, weekly, or monthly view of the work orders assigned to technicians and the progress of those work orders. You can modify the schedules where appropriate, and you can track the progress of each work order assigned to technicians. And by the way, you can have multiple technicians working on one work order or a special project, depending on the need and, of course, the skill and the service that's needed. Service management will support operating service centers where customers can drop off equipment for servicing. They can pick it up when ready, or you can ship it back to them. But the application also provides the functionality to support technicians who are dispatched to customer sites to perform equipment services in the field. So, service app for mobile devices are available where technicians can access the work orders assigned to them and update the information on parts and material they used. They can log in to the mobile device. That could be a tablet or a smartphone. If you're using Apple devices, then you can go to the App Store, search for Infor, look for the service app, download that, and once that's activated with credentials, your technicians then can update the work orders assigned to them in the field. This is a live link to the back office system, and every update the technician makes on that work order, adding parts, adding notes, logging the time spent, would be automatically updating the work order that's visible in the back office. And so the technician will be able to do that. If you're using Android devices, you can go to Google Play, download the Infor app, and then of course your technicians will then have access to the application. The app can go offline, and so if there's no internet access or if the cell connections drop, the system will still allow the technicians to update the work order, and the system will automatically sync back all the information updated once those connections are reestablished. The application also provides for credit card payments in the field if that is something that you allow your technicians to do. And then, of course, the application also provides warranty management features. So if you have equipment that's still under warranty from the manufacturer, and if there's a kind of failure and you need to fix it, you can claim the parts and labor to the manufacturer, and then, of course, return the equipment back to the customer in good working condition. We reconcile the credits that your manufacturer or suppliers may provide you, and then, of course, be able to set that up in the system and have a history of that as well on record. And then we have the call center. This is where your customer service people, your service dispatchers will create the work orders in the system. There's a knowledge base that's tied to the call center. So if the issue is familiar, we've done some work on it before, that information will be available to the call center folks and to the technician so that you can leverage the information on resolving issues that customers are calling for. And so that'll be available in the call center as well. All right. And then, of course, that wraps up the large show, the big picture overview of the service management module. See if you have any questions at this time before we go into the live application. All right.
Ray, is there do y'all have a feature for like quote templates and stuff where we can basically put in templates for contracts and other quotes?
Absolutely. So if you do quotes similar to, maybe a large project or installing an HVAC system in a condominium building that's being built somewhere, and you have different phases of that, the structure of the work orders in the system will allow you to be able to quote that. You'll have different phases, so you may have a phase one, phase two, phase three, and then of course that could be running simultaneously, or it could be in sequence where you have to complete phase one to be able to do the phase two, and you can specify the parts needed, the technician skills needed to perform the service for that phase, and so on. And that'll be a project that you can track within the system. We track all of the pricing, the costing, parts and material, including the labor that will be used to perform the service.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, let me go into the live application, and this is a cloud-based system. So I'm logged in with my laptop. I have the URL address there. I've logged in with my credentials. And so let me go into the calendar scheduling screen. I'm just going to increase the screen so we can get a better view. We're looking at a weekly view of the scheduling calendar from Sunday, April 19 to Saturday, April 25. I'm not sure if you do weekend work or if you're only working from Monday to Friday. This view here is a 24-hour clock, as you can see. So I can see who's working weekends, who's working overtime. This is grouped by technicians for each day. So under each day column, you can see the technicians in this group, and you can have multiple groups of teams of technicians that you can set up in the application. It could be tied to a branch, it could be tied to a region, it could be tied to a service that's being performed. So if you're training, if you're installing, and you have different teams that perform those jobs, then the calendar would then reflect the technicians in that group. And as you can see, under each technician, I have Barney, Gary, Phil, Sally, and Scott. And then, of course, that repeats for each day. Under each of the technicians, when I hover my cursor over the block that's underneath that, I can see the work order that's assigned. I can see at the top line there, there's a problem with the equipment not producing heat. It's a new assignment. Of course, the details on the customer contact and all of that information. The callers reflect the status of the work order. So in this demo environment, the lavender color reflects a status of complete, as you see in the second row of that window that popped up. If I move into another work order, the green one shows that the work has begun. And the orange color reflects a new status. So as you become familiar with the colors, and of course you can configure the colors yourself to fit with what you want this calendar to show. Uh, Again, the work orders are assigned here. I can see the time slot. This one begins at 8 o'clock, excuse me, and then of course lasts until about 10 o'clock. As a service manager or service dispatcher, I can increase or decrease that time, excuse me, and allow me to be able to modify the assignment to the technician. For example, in this calendar, if Gary calls in today, Wednesday, but says I can't come in on Friday. My daughter's going through graduation. I can simply click and drag that over into Phil, who's available that day. And by doing that, the assignment of that work order is transferred to Phil. When he logs into the system, he'll see that assignment pop up on his calendar and then be able to perform the task. That also implies that I know Phil's skills, his capability for service that's needed for that work order, and I can go into the future. I can look at next week's schedule, the month, and so on. In fact, at the bottom, if I look at the capacity tab, I can see for each technician how much time they have available today, the next day, the next 5 days, 20 days, next month, and so on. And of course, you can view this calendar here in other ways. I can take a look at a monthly view. So for the full month of April, I can see all the work orders assigned to technicians. If I scroll to the month of May, I can see all of the new work orders that have been scheduled that haven't been started yet. So you can see the orange collars there. Here in the month of April, you can see a lot of the lavender or purple that have been completed. And then, of course, being able to go in there. So you can do a daily, weekly, monthly view. I do like the Partners Week view because this gives me a view of the week with the hours reflected there. So as we go into this one here, I also have at the bottom of the screens to be scheduled. These are work orders that have been received previously that haven't been assigned to technicians yet. And as you can see, there's about dozens or maybe even hundreds of these work orders that have been received by customer service or by the service dispatch. So what I can do now is if I have a work order that I need to assign, I can simply click and drag that over. And if Sally is available tomorrow afternoon, I can simply click and drag that over. I can add additional notes to the work order, click OK, and then that will pop up in Sally's calendar. So it pops up on that day when she logs into the system. She'd be able then to see the assigned work orders to her. I can have activities as well that you can do here. I can do single day appointments. I can do multi-day appointments for services, dispatch technicians. I can create new work orders from here by simply clicking on the function, and then I'm into the work order entry function in the system. And again, depending on who I am, I log in as that person. I can now go into the customer details. I can search for the customer. It's Gotham Enterprises on the phone. The green mark implies that this customer is in good credit standing. If that was a red X, that means that there's a problem with the customer's account and may have to refer them to AR. But in this case, it's good. And once I've selected the customer and the ship to, I can now go into the details of the contact, and it knows who are the contacts that we deal with. If it's Doc on the phone, it picks up his email address and phone number from the contact information. If it's a new person, I simply add the new information, add the number, and then of course be able to get the information from the customer. And then, of course, why are they calling? They're asking for service on equipment that they have. When I click on the information on the unit, it actually shows me all of the items that we have with this customer that we've installed, that we've maintained, and that we continuously support them with. And so now I simply find out which equipment they're having problems with, and so I can go ahead and select which one that would be, depending on the description, the item number, and even the serial number of the equipment that we're going to be servicing. So I simply go ahead and select the equipment. You notice some pop-up issues here. There's a service bulletin that was issued by the manufacturer. If there's a known failure, that'll also pop up on the screen. And what is the problem that the customer is asking support for? Well, the equipment is not heating. So,
Ray, let me ask you a question. So it's going to
sure.
pull all the equipment that we would have sold to that particular client. Uh,
Yes, we have a record of all of the equipment that you've sold to the customer. I'm assuming that you serialize all the equipment that you sell to your customers. There's a serial number, there's an identifier that for that specific equipment. Is that true?
I don't know, Kelly Walker, do we put the serial numbers in the system? They all have serial numbers. I don't know if we keep a record of it. I assume we
Um,
do.
we don't when we order, but we do on the service side.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like, fax isn't currently tied to our service system. So,
Yeah.
but as we service equipment for customers, they add that information in service trade, but
Yeah.
not
And you can,
not
yeah,
for all the equipment we're ordering for
yeah.
customers.
So that could be a limitation of the fax system. In CSD, what you do is when you sell the equipment, you can then identify the serial number at that time, and that will have that on record. Serial numbers are going to be important for the history of all the services that you perform on the equipment, beginning with the installation and assembly. And by the time that they need help or maintenance on it, that'll be part of what you have on record. You can add the serial number at during the service, and then they're saying I need the service on this HVAC system. They'll give you the serial number because it's not on record. When I pulled in that list, it's not there. So it's a new one that they're asking us to now service. They could have purchased that from another vendor, or they could
Mhm.
have bought it from you. But if you did not put the serial number in the beginning, then of course you can add it at this time. But best business practice is to have the serial number identified at the time that you sell it to your customers.
And so, well, the one problem with that, Ray, is that they're actually selling it to the contractor, and then the contractor is selling it to the customer. So, and I know that ISM allows us to reassign equipment to from customer to customer.
Yeah.
So you may
So
sell
if
it to the
yeah,
contractor A, but then
Mhm.
then you're going to have to reassign it to the end user that owns the equipment at that point.
yeah, but
Yeah.
if the serial number does not change, and that is the
Correct.
serial number in the
Correct.
equipment, it doesn't matter who
Yep.
it belongs to because you can sell it to another person or company. That serial number will still retain the history. So if they ask you to
Yep.
service it now, maybe Acme now buys that equipment, you will still have the history of what you did with Gotham in the history in this system. So we're able to
Nice.
track all of that. All right, with the time I have remaining, let me just go in here. Here's the work order. I have, the general reasons, and then there, of course, the failure. I could select the problem, click OK. It's going to generate a work order for me now that will allow me to go ahead and send a technician to be able to service this. So I could add additional notes to it. I could select the template. Here's a template for the break, fix, and repair. It's a one-phase, one-line operation. Just to show you, if I selected an equipment a service or replacement, for example, notice how the list at the bottom right expands to show removing old equipment, assembling the new equipment, and of course doing quality control and so on. But in this case, we're doing the simple break, fix, and repair option. And that, of course, would just give me the one line, one operation function. When I click OK, that work order now will be generated, and it'll take me back into the calendar scheduling screen. And then, of course, now there's that work order at the bottom of the list here with a no heat problem. I can simply click and drag that over to Barney, who will then, of course, be available this afternoon. It's an urgent one. I can add additional notes to the work order, click OK, and that work order now pops up on Barney's screen. Let me go ahead and share my mobile device here with you as we are almost out of time here, but let me share my mobile device, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I get any kind of information going through here because this is live. So I'm going to just share my mobile device right here. It's just going to pop up on the screen shortly. There we go. And I'm going to go into uh, my Infor apps and select the Infor Service Management mobile app. So I'll just log in. I have my biometric login. It can recognize my face and then take me into the work queue that's been assigned for me today. And I can see that no heat work order that we just entered a few moments ago for Gotham Enterprises. I do have one for Acme Systems that I'm supposed to have worked in the morning. Let me tap on the one that we just created. When I tap it on the work order, it shows me details on the customer details. If I tap on the customer, it'll actually give me information on the customer, all the equipment that they own. They have 31 units of equipment that we've installed, and it gives me a record of when we installed it, whether there's warranty or a contract behind it, and any of the service orders that we performed on it. If I tap on the address, it triggers the GPS on my phone to direct me to the customer. And of course, I can have the features here where I can just make a phone call because I'm using a phone, let Doc know that I'm there. When I go down into the details of the equipment that needs servicing, and I tap in on it, now it brings up information on the configuration of that HVAC system, if there's any kind of warranty available, when it was installed, how many times have we serviced it, and drill down into the details. I can now go in and I can clock in on the job. If I'm doing that as I arrive at the customer or I do it before I leave home to factor that in, I could do that. I can also now go into the actual equipment and pop up a list of things that I need to perform. So if it is a fix and repair, the inspection list that I would have would probably include things like observing damages. Is there damage to the equipment? Yes or no? And if there is a damage, did I fix it? So the adjusted would pop up there. I can add notes to it. Do I observe leaks? The responses could be yes or no, pass or fail. How about the electrical wiring? Is that good? Or I could even do the balancing. Maybe I'm using a device or a monitor to see, for example, the value of maybe the balancing load on this equipment. And what do I find as a balancing load? And if I find zero point 0.5 as given by the meter, a red X appears because we're actually expecting a value of 1. So now I need to fix the problem. And as I fix the problem and measure it again and find that the adjusted value is back to 1, that X is replaced with the exclamation point. And then, of course, now I'm ready to go ahead and even add notes to it. Here I could just go ahead and tap in and key in the notes, or I can use the microphone at the bottom. Fixed loading problem with the equipment. So your technicians could be as descriptive as possible. That'll be part of the work order. And then, of course, as that is done, I can now go back in, complete the rest of the measurements and the checklist. And then, of course, once the equipment is back in working condition, I can now go ahead and finish that off. I can also now go ahead and even go to the attachments, and part of the attachments could be any documentation on the equipment that we have on record that could be also viewed in this equipment, or I can even take pictures. So if I take uh, I can now first go ahead and here's my laptop here. I'm going to take a picture of that. This could be the equipment before, during, and after the service, and that'll be part of the record and history that we will be able to look back to 6 months from now. If we needed to review this, I can have that there. I can add labor. What did I do? And based on your work codes that you set up in the system, that could be service and repair, it could be installation, it could be inspection, and so on. In this case, it was service and repair, so that's that checked there. And then, of course, how much time did I spend on it? I spent 3 hours fixing it, and am I going to be billing them for that same amount? And when I click done, that will then be added into the bill for this customer. I can also add parts and material. So under the materials, if I do plus for the material, I could also read a barcode of the item that I'm using to replace. If I replaced parts and equipment, that will then be part of what I can view here. So let me just go ahead and do that. I'm going to scan an item, and I'm just going to look at it found the barcode, read that. I'm going to search for it. It's this equipment or this unit. I will simply go ahead and select that then, click on done. And then how many units did I replace? 1 unit. Once that's done, again, it'll add that to the invoice. And then once that's all complete, I can now go ahead and even do the inspection list, or I can also do the invoicing and payment. And the system will then summarize the bill with the labor and the time and part that was spent. If I click on invoice, I could send it on account, or it could be tied to a credit card payment if that was part of the options that you make available. The system will generate the invoice. That'll be part of the system now. I can also do a signature here, and the system now will do that. So the customer will sign that the work was done, and then of course now do the pay later, and that'll be invoiced now to the customer. That'll be emailed to the customer when done. When I'm complete, I can simply just go ahead and clock out, and then of course now I can go ahead and change the status on this work order, and then of course allow me now to go ahead and say that this is complete. When I do that, well, it tells me of course to just clock out first because I clocked in. So I'll clock out, go back into the thing, and then of course change this back now to a completed status, and then be able to do that completed. So I think I'm out of my time, but that is a quick overview of the features available in the service module. All right. Any questions before I end my time and pass it back to Clint?
Ray, I assume that like in those, there was a long list of those work orders on the mobile app. Like, as you know, there's only probably going to be a handful that we use. Can we clean that up just to simplify that? I mean, all this is customizable, I assume.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, based on security controls and based on your corporate policies on what they see, and of course, yes, you can configure what the technicians will be able to see depending on your workflows and the process that you want to follow.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to turn it back to Clint, and if you do have any questions later, feel free to send them over, and we'll be happy to respond.